In 2030, a mission of researchers is sent to Mars. Everything is going according to plan. Artificial intelligence Artie checks the engines and takes command. 80 days later, the crew has visual contact with the red planet and receives signals from the rover's beacon. But while preparing to land, the ship suddenly gets caught in an unknown vortex and disappears under mysterious circumstances. After this incident, the Space Corporation imposed bans on flights controlled by artificial intelligence. The company has placed devices in orbit around the red planet that will use probes to continue exploration. Only a small group of people are allowed to manage them. One of them is Mackenzie Wilson, a mission controller for the United Space Planetary Corporation, and the daughter of one of the scientists who died on the expedition. She is entrusted with the investigation of the disaster. Her colleague Sterling Brooks is outraged by this approach of the corporation. He thinks that the crash should be investigated by a specialist like him, but he was not even provided with materials on the expedition. Mackenzie goes to the command bridge, where she is greeted by artificial intelligence Artie. The computer reports that her rover is preparing to land 5 hours early due to an approaching sandstorm. She is outraged that the AI itself makes such decisions, but the computer quite calmly declares its independence from human opinion and does not take Mackenzie's orders into account. At this time, Mackenzie's manager and sister Lena gets in touch. She apologizes for not informing her sister about Artie's powers. Yesterday, the corporation's board decided to make him responsible for the investigation. Lena isn't sure her sister can do it right and insists that the AI will succeed where humans have failed. The module undocks and heads towards the planet, but suddenly something goes wrong and the ship gets in danger of crashing. Mackenzie instantly makes a decision and conveys it to Artie. The AI calculates the options and comes to the conclusion that the chances of salvation are only 7%. Mackenzie does the calculations, after which the odds increase to 42%, which impresses Artie. He follows Mackenzie's commands, and because of this, the module descends to the surface of the planet unharmed. At this moment, Lena calls and praises the AI for a successful landing. Mackenzie is outraged because it was she who found the solution. But Lena reminds that Artie carried out the necessary actions. The woman is sure that AI is a panacea for all the problems of humanity. Artie discovered the possibilities of instant data transmission and revolutionary research methods. Most likely, computers will outlive humanity and will be able to reach distant stars. The rover scans the planetary environment and detects an unknown signal. Artie conducts an analysis and finds out that the signal comes from a decommissioned Mars rover. Lena instructs to deal with the signal. Artie makes a route and guides the rover to the source of the signal. Along the way, there are robots that have long been out of order. Mackenzie tries to tell Artie that she has decided to name her module Little Red Riding Hood, because now it is like a girl in the dark forest, alone and surrounded by dangers. The woman tries to talk to the AI about her sister and does not understand how it was programmed to be so loyal. At this moment, Little Red Riding Hood reaches the anomaly of the mysterious black cube, the origin of which is unknown. Artie tries to take part of the cube for analysis, but the drill penetrates very slowly into the dense material. Artie begins an analysis, the results of which are unlike anything seen before. AI calls Lena, who is also surprised by the find. After analyzing the temperature of the mysterious object, it turns out that it is much colder than its surroundings. Artie suggests that the cube is the property of the corporation. AI continues to explore it in every available way, but nothing is visible inside the cube, even with the help of X-rays. Mackenzie is trying to get permission to consult with someone experienced, but Lena is against bringing Sterling into the investigation because he was somehow involved in the crash and she doesn't trust him. At this time, Artie discovers an unidentified satellite in orbit of Mars. AI runs the security protocol and defeats it. Mackenzie is outraged by such actions. He didn't even check whose satellite it was and how it threatened them. She asks for a back extrapolation and finds out that it was a Chinese satellite. Mackenzie reports this to Lena, but she orders not to talk about the incident because it is an international incident. Mackenzie leaves the control room and calls her colleague Jean. She asks about working with Artie, but the man suddenly refuses to talk. Mackenzie returns to the control room and learns that the cube has begun to rotate along a perpendicular axis. At the same time, Artie cannot detect any signals from the outside. Gravitational levels are off the charts, although Mars is not capable of this. Mackenzie orders the release of stabilizers, but after securing Little Red Riding Hood to the ground, the power supply system suddenly fails, and the cube disappears from view. Mackenzie checks everything around, even below the surface of the planet, but the object is nowhere to be found. The woman decides to replace the power source. She asks Artie to return to the abandoned rover to retrieve its nuclear battery, but this can only be done manually. Artie hands over command of the rover to her. Mackenzie performs the operation and talks about her father. He wanted to give up his place on the first expedition because he considered himself an insufficiently qualified scientist, which was not true. Mackenzie persuaded her father to fly to the mission, where he died. Little Red Riding Hood gets to the rover and performs an operation to remove and replace the battery. Moments before the life support systems are turned off, Artie resumes analyzing the sample and immediately discovers a cube on Earth. In some incomprehensible way, it teleported to Antarctica. Mackenzie tries to find out the possibility of teleportation being discovered by other corporations, but Artie knows nothing about it. The woman calls Gene again. The man complains about strange events during the investigation. However, Artie does not remember anything about working with this man. The connection is interrupted, and Mackenzie realizes that Artie's memory was erased after some incident. She asks to download data from an abandoned rover, but it turns out that she needs more rights for this operation than she has now. Mackenzie decides to bring Sterling in to use his credentials to access protected information. Sterling gets to work and receives photographs that show the cube appeared during the shuttle landing. Most likely, it was the cause of the disaster that killed the astronauts. Sterling knew about this, but Lena destroyed all data about extraterrestrial intervention. Mackenzie shares the data she has obtained about Cube with a colleague. The man does not understand how the artifact was able to move to Earth. Mackenzie tries to figure out how Artie learned about hypersonic communications, but Artie thinks it was divine inspiration. The girl does not understand how one can believe that the AI itself made a discovery after contact with the cube. The main thing is that Artie does not recognize those with whom he worked. Suddenly, Mackenzie realizes that the cube rotates due to magnetism. She begins to test her theory. It turns out that the magnetic projectile that shot down the satellite launched the cube engine. Suddenly, the hatch into Artie's server room opens. Mackenzie goes down there. At this time, Sterling penetrates the corporation's network. The man reboots Artie and then locks Mackenzie in the server room. Artie sees Sterling's betrayals. Then AI destroys Sterling and frees Mackenzie. The woman goes up to the control room and sees Sterling's body. Artie explains that he couldn't let him leave and jeopardize the corporation's operations. Mackenzie asks Lena where Artie came from. She says that he is the result of thousands of attempts, simulations, and self-organizations. People have not kept up with his progress, and it is impossible to understand his neural networks. As a result, Artie created himself. Mackenzie wonders if it's artificial intelligence or alien intelligence, but no one knows. This is not what Mackenzie's father wanted. AI should help, not replace humans. The woman notices what Sterling did. Using armed satellites in Earth's orbit, he gave the command to destroy the cube. Mackenzie decides to release magnetic charges to make the cube move again. Artie starts executing the command. Mackenzie tries to detain the military, who are trying to stop the launch of a satellite rocket. A shootout begins. Artie manages to close the doors, but Mackenzie is injured. The drone fires a charge, and the cube is transported to Mars. Artie says that over the past 10 years, humanity has come to the brink of self-destruction. He could not apply any preventive measures to stop it and decided to speed up the process. At this moment, a message is received about the activation of satellite weapons. Artificial intelligence has begun the destruction of humanity. Mackenzie sees explosions on Earth. Lena burns out right during the call. The oxygen level in the room begins to drop. Mackenzie looks at the dying planet and asks the artificial intelligence to remember the people. They did not understand that they were filling the world with anger. Artie consoles the woman. He will be able to create likenesses of people and will try to give them a second chance. The air runs out and Mackenzie dies. The Earth dies, but after a cataclysm, it is reborn again. Mackenzie opens her eyes and sees herself on the screen. She says that before she died, she asked Artie to save her. AI tests her mental abilities. The woman clearly answers that it is now 2036, and she is in the corporation's control center, and Lena is standing outside the door. The woman goes to the door, and then it turns out that she has been reborn in a reality based on memories of technology available only to a highly developed civilization. They also accelerated the development of AI. The origin of superintelligence is unknown, but its purpose is clear. It is instant teleportation between galaxies. Not long ago, a signal came with coordinates. Artie was waiting for her to go there. Mackenzie and the cube, along with Artie, teleport to new worlds, and this is not the end at all. This is a new beginning, an opportunity to create a future unfettered by primitive human logic.